Chair recognizes the chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, Chairman Powell, for the chairman's time. 20 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House, and I can assure you it's not going to take 20 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about, in rebuttal to the minority report, about the lack of the vetting of the bill. Well, quite frankly, I'm very proud of the committee members that they showed up in between meetings, and they did here. And you know, the bill was properly vetted. It had been advertised, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, in this case, I didn't even call it at the discretion of the chair. This bill was actually posted because I was trying to work with the minority members on the committee. But as far as the members of the committee, I want to congratulate each and every member who listened to this bill. They did so diligently. I want to thank the author of the bill, Mr. Jaspers. I want to thank Ms. Ballinger. There's a few other folks. There's a lot of the things in this cleanup bill, ladies and gentlemen, that are attributed directly to individual members of this House. I want to thank Mr. Sharper back there. He took time out of his schedule to come by my office and sit down and talk to me about certain things about training. And while training is not on the agenda, because of a lot of the people considered mandatory training is an abrogation of their Second Amendment rights as a condition to exercise something that's granted by the Constitution, we did come up with some language thanks to Mr. Sharper. And that's to ask the probate judges, if it's at their discretion, that when someone comes in and applies for a license, that they'll be given information, voluntary information, websites, whatever, about gun safety. Because I am concerned about that, and I think that anybody that has a concealed weapons permit has an obligation, their own obligation, that they should know how to handle that weapon for the safety purposes, as well as the proficiency of how to use a weapon. But at this point, we're not into the training because of the assault that we have seen on the Second Amendments in so many quarters around. But I want to thank Mr. Jaspers. In rebuttal to a lot of the things, quite frankly, this is just patently false about the lack of the vetting. You listened to the previous speaker talk about the registration of guns, if I didn't misunderstand her. But quite frankly, in the state of Georgia, we don't register guns. We don't register guns, and let me say that again, and we don't register guns for a reason. The reason we don't register guns is that we don't want a database. One of the purposes of the Second Amendment provisions, as provided by the Founding Fathers, was that's to protect yourself not only against felons and against criminals, but also against an overzealous government that would reach out and try to strip you of your Second Amendment rights. So we don't register guns, but we do register folks, but we don't keep a database once you have been vetted as far as a background check. But all the things in the bill that Representative Jaspers talked about, this wasn't a step forward as far as where to carry the gun, a weapon. This was a cleanup bill. And when I tell you it's a cleanup bill, that's that bite of the apple. We do things, I tell people, and I've told them for years, the reason that we meet on the second Monday of every January, and that's to clean up legislation that needs to be cleaned up, to carry forth and to do all those things that are necessary. And 2 years ago, you might remember, they preached the doom and the gloom. The media, the naysayers, the folks that voted against, the anti-Second Amendment folks, they preached about the guns everywhere 2 years ago, and you would have thought that we were all going to go straight to hell for what we did. But 2 years later, we find out, ladies and gentlemen, that surprisingly or not, we haven't had all the problems that was predicted by the naysayers 2 years ago. So I will commend this bill to you. Cleanup bill. Cleanup bill, whether it be for the churches or the administrative issues or the probate judges or the background checks, and all of these other things that we have deemed necessary. Things about your post-certified state officers. To me, it just boggled my mind that you have a state patrolman, you have a GBI agent, you have a DNR agent, those people that have to appear in the courtrooms around this state to testify and to give testament, and they have to go into the courthouses, that they be told that they cannot carry their weapons, that they're turned away and sent back to their trucks or their vehicles to put the weapons in, leaving them bare to their own defense, much less bare to the defense of the people in that courtroom if there was a situation that transpired. So, you know, I will commend the work of this bill. I'll commend the work of Mr. Jaspers. I'll commend the work of so many of you members out there, individual members, that took time to get involved in this bill. We are a pro-Second Amendment state. We're not illogical in what we do, but we have been very calculating that we've taken a bite of the apple. We have other groups out there that think we don't go far enough. Well, we go just as far as we think that we can go legitimately. We take that bite of an apple at every opportunity. We see how we digest it to see how the new the legislation works. And then when we see that it's working properly, then we look at the next step that we could go to. Ladies and gentlemen, I would thank you for your favorable consideration for House Bill 1060, and I would encourage you to vote in the affirmative for this bill, and let's move this bill forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House.
Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 1060 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 1060. The ayes are 120, the nays are 52. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.